Am I the a-hole for telling my brother that his wife was faking a pregnancy? My brother and I have never been close, so my sister-in-law haven't been either. However, one day after coming to a luncheon with our family, she announced she was pregnant. At first everyone, including me, was excited about having a new niece or nephew. However, as she supposedly went on to the pregnancy 5 to 6 months, she wasn't growing, was drinking alcohol, never had any ultrasounds, even though at hospital appointment my brother was never allowed to go to, was still bending heaving things for her job. When asked if her job knew she was pregnant, she said she never told them, among other things. One day I was annoyed at her behavior and asked if Anthony, brother, asked if he ever saw a pregnancy test. He said he didn't. I said to him I doubt she's pregnant and should confirm she is because she is pregnant. 3 weeks later I found out that Anthony finds out she's not really pregnant after forcing her to allow him to go to a hospital for a checkup. She did go to a checkup, but no for pregnancy-related issues. She's saying that I shouldn't have interfered into business I had anything to do with, and now he's demanding a divorce. I said she shouldn't have faked a pregnancy. She said she had a miscarriage that the hospital later said to Anthony said she was never pregnant. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. But what was her endgame here, exactly? Like, how did she see this otherwise playing out? Am I the a-hole for not wanting to name my daughter something that's a rude word in my language? I, 30 female, and my husband, 37 male, are expecting our first child. We've just found out that it's going to be a girl, and so we've started discussing potential names. My husband and I are from different countries with different languages. We both speak each other's languages and we live in my husband's country. When we found out we were having a girl, my husband said he'd like us to name her after his grandmother who passed away recently and who he was extremely close to. I think this is very, very sweet idea, and I would have no problem with it were it not for the fact that, to put it bluntly, her name in my language means female genitalia. In his country, that association doesn't exist at all. It's just a pretty name, and he feels that because we live in his country, there's no issue with our daughter being called that. On the other hand, I'm extremely reluctant to call her it, knowing what it means in my country. It'll be embarrassing for her to introduce herself with that name when we visit, and if we ever moved back, we're not planning to, but you never know, and she had to attend school there, she'd definitely be bullied for it. We've argued about it a bit and neither of us want to back down. I suggested we use it as a middle name, but he really wants to honor his grandmother by using it as a first name. I suggested we change the name slightly to make it a name that exists in my country, while still being very similar to his grandma's name, but he thinks that's not the same. Eventually, my husband accused me of being embarrassed by his culture, which isn't true. I'm in love with his culture and I think the name is very pretty. It's just that I know our daughter will visit my country too and she'll have such a hard time there with that name. Am I being the asshole to insist we use it as a middle name or change it slightly? The name is Fanny. Sorry, I don't know why I didn't include it originally. Not the a-hole. Fanny is an absolutely terrible name. Its time has passed even here in the US where it doesn't mean pussy. In the US, it is slang for butt, but a mild, almost childlike word for butt. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my grandpa after he told me to cover up my feet? So this one is fairly recent and he's still mad at me, so I decided to voice this story in hopes of getting corrected if I'm wrong or something. So this morning my grandparents informed me that some PDL would be coming to set up a new bed/frame etc. Since I wasn't needed, I just sat down on the sofa and minded my business. I asked if I should help, but I once needed. For context, I was wearing a normal t-shirt and some leggings, but no socks. This will be important later. However, during the visit my grandfather kept furiously pointing upstairs. Apparently he didn't want to tell me what I needed to do but expected me to magically know. After looking at everyone wearing masks, I assumed he wanted me to wear one. I was pretty far away from everyone, so I didn't thought it was necessary. So after I got up and put it on, he seemed even more furious. I kept asking him what he wanted me to do, but he refused to speak. After the guy and the girl finished building the new bed and left, we sat down and talked a bit about the new bed, what happened, etc. That's when I mentioned being confused at what he wanted me to do. And he promptly told me that it was vulgar for me to display my feet the way I did. Faced with the absurdity of the situation, I laughed, imagining how the two builders would say, look at how hot this girl is because of her feet." My grandmother then joined in, laughing with me about my seductive feet with the power to make any man horny. My grandfather, however, exploded, saying that it was indecent/disrespectful to be at home without socks in front of strange men. He's currently still mad at me for showing off my glorious feet in front of strangers. So am I the a-hole for laughing at my grandpa for covering up my indecent feet? Not the a-hole, and Gramps probably has a foot fetish. Am I the a-hole for describing my wife as fat to our young children? My wife, 41, and myself, 44 male, both work in education and believe in properly explaining things to our children, 4 female, 5 male. We have agreed to never use because I said so. Reasoning with them. My wife is unfortunately around 3 st overweight. Her weight has crept up gradually since having the kids, and I don't think she was even aware of this gain until I gently raised the subject with her last year. She agreed she needs to remedy this. Since then we have worked together to shift the excess weight, and I'm proud to say she's lost around 10 pounds, but she still has a lot of work to do to reach her target weight. She is best at sticking to her diet if there is no temptation around, so for Easter I got her flowers instead of an egg. She seemed happy with this. Then yesterday my children were arguing over a missing Easter egg, each accusing the other of eating it. I knew instantly what had happened. I asked my wife to tell the children where the egg, which was quite big, had really gone, and she admitted she had eaten it. My son, whose egg it was very upset and confused and asked his mum why she had eaten it. My wife replied that she would replace it, which would be impossible, as it's now after Easter. I pointed out that she had not answered the question our son had asked. He was very upset and he kept asking why she had stolen his egg. I felt it was unfair she hadn't properly answered this, as he was getting more distressed. My wife completely threw me under the bus here and said because I wanted chocolate but daddy didn't get me an egg. They already know the importance of healthy eating, so I explained that mummy was not wanting to eat too much sugar. Several but why? Questions down the line I finally said because mummy is fat and needs to work on this by not eating sweeties. I use the word fat because my sister is fat and always says it is not a shameful thing and she prefers to be described this way. She says to not use the word implies there is something wrong with being fat. I probably was an a-hole to presume my wife would feel the same way about this term. And I wonder if I should have said overweight instead? My wife hasn't spoken to me since this and has seemed very upset. I feel terrible for upsetting her. But I think she was wrong to have taken our little boy's Easter egg without asking. And wrong to have blamed me for her actions. I regret upsetting her and possibly using the wrong terminology, but I had run out of ways to explain to the children why I hadn't bought my wife an egg. I wouldn't have had to explain why I hadn't bought an egg, if she hadn't told them this fact. Or indeed if she hadn't eaten the egg to begin with. But I do feel I might be an a-hole for upsetting my wife. She told your son the truth. She told him she would replace it. The thing missing is an apology, not self-degrading. You did not want to let it go. You wanted to punish her by humiliation and did that. And now you wonder that she is not talking to you? She ate the egg because she craved it. Thin people have cravings too. So you straight up told your son a lie. You are the a-hole. He didn't lie to his kid. She said that he wouldn't get her an egg and the kid asked why she refused to answer and he told the truth since she wouldn't and threw him under the bus. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law to parent her child and kicking her out when she fails? I, 32 female, and my husband, 34 male, are child-free. We also work from home on a regular basis and both our jobs involve doing a lot of meetings and talking. We have 3-bedroom house where one of the rooms is used as a guest room while another is made as an office. If we have meetings at the same time, one of us just hops on the laptop and goes to a different room or living room. The bedrooms are located on the top floor, while the kitchen, dining and living room are on the bottom floor. My sister-in-law had some repairs done to her house. She has arranged to stay with someone else, but it fell through, so she asked if she can stay in our house during the day with her kids, 10 female and 6 male. I think their school is currently closed due to COVID outbreak there, but not sure. Me and my husband explained that both of us work from home most of the time and we will not be able to take the time off to watch her or her kids. She promised they will behave. Yesterday my husband was asked to come to the office, so I was alone with my sister-in-law and her children. It was their first day out of 2 weeks of repairs. I was getting ready for my meeting, when I hear a screeching sound. I initially thought that the kids are watching TV and might have turned it on too loud, so I've asked them to turn it down and start the meeting. The sound didn't stop and people in the meeting could hear it and it was making them uncomfortable. I have tried moving to different rooms, but it was still loud, so I had to leave the meeting and come downstairs to see what the sound is. Turns out my sister-in-law youngest is throwing a tantrum and she is just sitting there not doing anything. I have politely asked her if she can calm down her child as the noises he makes make me uncomfortable and interfere with my job. She says okay and I go back to my homey office hoping to rejoin the meeting. However, the sound didn't stop and in fact it became worse. The kid has started banging on the floor. I come down again and tell my sister-in-law that her to parent her child and stop this behavior as I'm trying to work or they have to leave. She was trying to get into an argument, but I have said I had enough and she must leave now and is no longer welcome to stay for the 14 days she originally planned. When my husband returned he agreed with me, however we have already received calls from his parents calling me an asshole for kicking them out. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole because while controlling a tantrum is not always possible, taking your kid outside or to the car is. Am I the a-hole for dropping out of my maid of honor role just few weeks before the wedding? My 25 female, best friend of 12 years, 25 female, is getting married in 3 weeks. I was supposed to be her maid of honor but I dropped out of the role last week and before you judge me let me explain why. My best friend has been with her fiancé since they were both 19. A little before she got with her fiancé she had a short fling with my brother, 29. It wasn't a serious relationship, and before the fling started she made sure I was okay with it and it wouldn't affect our friendship at all, and I assured her that the only way this would affect our friendship would be if she cheated on my brother in case they were in a committed relationship. To my knowledge they were never in a committed relationship and they were just a fling for a few weeks. Even after the fling ended and after months my BF got with her now fiancé, my brother and her were friendly. They barely spoke but they weren't hostile towards each other. So few days before I dropped out of my maid of honor role my brother revealed to me about how he had admitted he's in love with my best friend back then. He says he's always been bitter about how she dropped him to get with her current fiancé and how she was very mean when she rejected him. When he admitted his feelings to her she basically told him that they're nothing more than just a fling and there's not going to be anything more between them. My brother told me she was very mean to him and told him he's not her type in the slightest and he's not the kind of man she'd be in a committed relationship with. He felt she used him as a placeholder until she got with her current fiancé. Now look, she's my best friend but he's my brother. And I can't imagine siding with a person who hurt my brother like that. For all these years I thought they ended their fling in amicable terms but apparently not. I can't be a maid of honor at a wedding of a relationship which left my brother heartbroken. So I dropped out. I told my BFF the exact reason why and she was furious. She said my brother is stuck on the past and the only reason she didn't tell me was because she didn't want to put me in an awkward position since it's my brother. She said my brother and I are ridiculous for holding something that happened 6 years ago against her and how I'm basically an a-hole for dropping out over something so petty and minor just few weeks from the most important moment of hers. I don't think it was minor at all. She hurt my brother. I could care less about her perfect day. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole, and so is your brother. So you're ending your 12-year relationship with your best friend solely because she didn't have the same feelings for your brother as he had for her 6 years ago? He could have told you this at any time, but right before the wedding so she has to sweat about it? Dropping out doesn't make you a good sister. It does make you a bad friend. Am I the a-hole for choosing my sister over my GF? TW postpartum depression. So I, 22 male, have a older sister, 30 female sister, who always took care of me when her mom had to work at night. Which looking back on as I got older she sacrificed her own social life which probably wasn't easy as a teenager. I've been dating my girlfriend, 21 female, for 6 months now. It's been going good and my sister and her seem to get along fine. My sister lives 3 hours away from me and 2 weeks ago had a baby girl. Her husband had to leave a couple days after the baby was born because he's in the military. Well, last night around 8 p.m. my sister called me crying talking about how she's not a good mom, and she's scared something is going to happen to her daughter, and she's just been sad, and just really distressed. I asked why she's just now saying something and she said she didn't want to bother anyone asking for help. I told her I'll come over to help. My GF and I were watching a movie. She doesn't permanently stay at my place but she's there at least 4 times a week. I apologized and told her I have to help out my sister. She got upset and said you're really just leaving me like this, and I tried explaining that this is an emergency but she was still mad when I left. My phone started blowing up with texts so I turned it off until early this morning. And seen that my GF and a couple of her friends were texting me saying I'm a hole and a bad boyfriend and my sister could have waited until the morning. But I'm pretty sure she has PPD and it can be pretty serious. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and your GF needs to be your ex-girlfriend. There's no way I'd stay with someone who acted like that. Am I the a-hole for suggesting that my husband hires a maid instead of me staying home? My husband and I both work full-time. He recently got a promotion and he now makes twice what I do. Since he got the promotion, he has been pressuring me to quit my job and be a full-time housewife. The reason that my husband is into this idea is because that would make me responsible for all the cooking and cleaning. Right now we split chores evenly since we both work similar hours, and I like that arrangement. My husband is not a fan. He hates having to do chores around the house. I admit that I would love to not have to work, but the trade-off being offered is not appealing to me. I suggested that my husband should use some of the extra income to hire a maid service, and then neither of us would have to do the chores. He accused me of just wanting to coast off of his money without doing anything and has been annoyed all morning that I suggested it. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not going to my in-laws' wedding unless my mother-in-law pays for my plane ticket? My 28 female, husband's 29 male, sibling is getting married in July. He is excited. He's going to be the best man and is extremely close with his only sibling. Mother-in-law and I technically have a fine relationship, but I always feel like she doesn't see me as family. Husband and I have been together for 9 years and she still only sends pictures of just father-in-law, her, and kids in Christmas cards. I'm never included. My husband last year actually said he and I would not be participating in any further cards unless I'm included, and she got so angry she skipped pictures altogether. Okay, so now to the main part. In every single vacation we have ever gone on as a family, mother-in-law will only pay for tickets for kids and father-in-law. She has made a point to never include me in tickets. There have been several family trips we have simply not gone on in protest of this. If she doesn't pay, husband always pays my way, even when we were dating, but it still hurts my feelings. Also, mother-in-law is very successful in her profession and makes a solid 6-figure salary not including her other investments. I am a school teacher and she has always looked down on me for that. I'm not saying that I expect her to pay for my things because she makes more. In fact, in my entire 9 years of being with husband she has only ever gotten me one gift and has never paid for anything else. I just don't understand why she pays for everyone else's but mine when she can afford it. Anyways, mother-in-law was getting ready to buy plane tickets. Husband's ticket was bought already by one of siblings' groomsmen who is throwing a party a few days before and wanted to treat siblings' groomsmen. Mother-in-law did not know this and was about to buy 3 tickets for her, father-in-law, and husband. She calls husband to give details about tickets, to which husband says, "Oh, I already have a ticket but Op would be more than glad to take mine." Mother-in-law scoffed and said she would not buy a ticket for me. Husband said it doesn't make sense because she was going to buy 3 anyways. Mother-in-law wouldn't give him a direct answer as to why and the convo shifted to an argument. It essentially ended with "Op is not my family and I will not give her free handouts," and then a slam on the phone. Husband is the upset and calls sibling for advice. Sibling essentially says, "You know mom. She doesn't like other women. Op should have known that and expected to be treated this way." Husband becomes even more upset and then hangs up. Anyways, I was so hurt by both of these statements, especially siblings, since I thought we had a really good relationship, that I'm considering not going to the wedding. Husband wants to not go either, but I have convinced him to because there's no reason to ruin his relationship with them over a plane ticket. I told mother-in-law that I might not go and she was furious and said it would make her family look bad. Basically like I'm this evil person trying to destroy their family's good name. Husband is 100% on my side for whatever I choose, but I'm leaning towards not going. Will I be the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Mother-in-law and I technically have a fine relationship. Honestly, who are you kidding here?